Hello and welcome everyone, it's Shanna. On today's video we're going to make 5 Heartfelt Sympathy cards. So I have got the copper plate Heartfelt Sympathy press plate. And this is actually press and foil. You can press it or you can foil it. You can see I've got some ink on there where I've pressed it. But for today's purposes I foiled 5 different Spellbinder cardstock panels. And I've just used the mirrored gold Glimmer foil and did all these. I did these Sunday morning before church. I have been in need of some sympathy cards, and I thought I'm just going to get my Glimmer out, foil these up, and I did 5 panels. And so now we're going to come in and we're going to get to assembling them. I think I actually showed these on my live on Sunday night and said that I was going to put some cards together and I'd probably bring it to my channel. So that is what I'm doing here. I've got some best ever craft tape, and I kind of stuck it on my hands because I've got some hand lotion on there, and I thought it would help from ripping my cardstock, because I do sometimes like to use the frames to bring back in as a layer, so I don't really want to tear it up. So I'm just going to get these laid down on there, and I've just got a die set. This is not the die that goes with the frame that I'm going to use for this. This is another one I just grabbed. In fact, I've kind of got mine mixed up. I'm going to have to get them organized when I get this voiceover done. But I've got some marks on my plate, so I'm using some copy paper to lay on top of it just so I don't get those impressions, hopefully, in on my panel. And for this one, I'm going to use the Greenwich 3D embossing and cut 3D emboss and cut folder, and that's this one right here. Now it'll make a really ornate frame, and this is the die that goes with it, but it wasn't large enough for my sentiment, and so I just took another one that I thought would work with it, and I'm going to bring in some mirrored cardstock, and we're going to die cut out this frame. Now I have some panels already, A2 size panels of mirrored cardstock, but for this frame you actually need one bigger than that. It hangs over the edges and you just need one a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to cut this down to 5.5, and I'll use this to layer my frame on and make sure I have plenty of room and I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to go ahead and cut this little edge off because I like to make the most of my treasured cardstock. And so I'll lay that aside. I can use that on something else, and we're just going to run this through the die cutting machine. So what I'm going to do is layer my gold cardstock down there and get it lined up nice and neat. And then it doesn't matter because we're going to cut it away. And then I'm going to lay this die inside the embossed folder and then just close it that way, and we'll just run it through. Now I have seen people cut their panel out and then lay it in their 3D embossing folder and emboss it. And I've done it that way, but you don't have to. This is made so that you can layer it together, press and cut at the same time. And that's what I'm going to do here. And so I'll have just a beautiful panel. And you could put the centerpiece in and die cut that center out, but I'm not choosing to do that on today's video. So we've got this beautiful Greenwich frame, and I've got my cosmic sky with my gold glimmer on it, and I'm just going to lay it down on there. Now you could use a non-shaped card and just cut it down a little bit and let the frame overhang it. But I actually had a card that I had already used that die, a card base, and cut it, and it's been laying in my little stash. So I'm going to pull it out. It opens differently, but I think it'll work. I'm just going to use it and get it out of my craft room. So I have got plenty of foam tape on this. I don't know why I got so carried away, but I did. So we'll get these strips pulled off of here, and then I'm going to add some glue just so I have some wiggle room, and then we'll get it laid down on our gold panel. And I hope this isn't too showy for a sympathy card. I just thought it would be nice to bring the gold back into it. It is very ornate, and I'm going to leave it just like this and not, add any embellishments. Now here's that card base that I had already previously die cut out, and it's been laying in my stash, and I'm just going to use it. Now I'm showing you that edge is the edge I let hang over the die, so I'm not going to need glue on that side because it's going to hang over. And so I'm going to get it laid down there. I don't even know if I got the glue on the right edge. Anyway, so we'll get this laid down on there, and you can see you know, the card base fits nicely behind there. And then we've got a shaped card underneath there. So that is our first one. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to bring in my next one, and I'm going to bring in another one of my nested dies. For this one, I've got Celestial Color, and it's Color Wheel cardstock from Spellbinders, and I'm using the scalloped and stitched edge ovals for this. And I didn't lay my panel down straight when I glimmered, so I'm going to have to lay this oval a little bit crooked on there when I die cut. And it's not going to matter just as long as I get my oval on there correctly. And so we'll just kind of line it up and try to get it to where it looks like it's even, and trying to evenly space on, you know, either side of the sentiment, make sure it looks good. I'm going to bring some more of that tape in, and I'm going to tape it down just so it doesn't shift on me, because I want to make sure I get it lined up, you know, accordingly to my sentiment. Now, I will tell you, I had a little bit of overfoiling on this, and here is another, this is another layer to that die set. We're just going to go off camera and die cut them out. If you have some overfoiling, you can use some washi tape or some craft tape and just kind of pick up that extra foiling. That's what I normally do. So I'm going to layer my my oval on this scalloped panel here, and it's treasured gold cardstock. It is the matte, and it's got a little glitter look to it. And I'm going to bring that piece that I die cut out back in as a layer. Now my card base is a little bit crooked, so I grabbed the bone folder, I'm straightening it up, and I'm giving it a good press. I make my own card bases out of 110-pound cardstock, do my own cutting and scoring, and so I must have not scored that one very well. So I'm going to take this celestial panel here that I've die cut that oval out of, and it doesn't matter that it's kind of off centered because we're adding that scalloped layer behind there, and it is bigger than what I die cut out, so it'll cover it up nicely. And we're just going to get it laid down on here. Now I will tell you, I die cut out a whole bunch of flowers and leaves and different things that I thought I was going to add to these cards, and I will add a couple on this card, and I'll throw some leaves down. And I just didn't use as much as I thought. I mean, I die cut a bunch out thinking I was going to use them, but the sentiment is so big and takes up so much room on your A2 size panel that I didn't need as much as I thought I would. So I'm just going to layer this up in the center, and we've got another Heartfelt Sympathy card. And I've taken some more of that cardstock, that treasured cardstock with the matte finish on it, and I've got some little flowers here, and I'm just going to kind of bend them and cup them up a little bit and just kind of put them down there in that lower right-hand corner and just add a little extra interest to the card. Trying not to get too showy with these, but trying to add a little bit of something to them. So we'll get these two laid down on there, and I know you normally do threes, but I'm going to do 2 flowers with 2 embellishments, and then I'll add a third embellishment, and that will be our little third thing. So I'm going to bring in these gems from Spellbinders. These are just some gold gems. Lay them in the center of these small flowers, and then I'll position one above my Heartfelt, and then we'll have our little 3 elements there. So I'll get this third one off. That's all I had of that particular color. The others, this is a mix that's on that sheet. There's a darker gold, almost like a copper. So we've got 2 of those done, and we're going to move on to our next one. So for this one, I'm bringing in this die, and I can't for the life of me figure out what this die is. I was searching on Spellbinders. It's an old one. It's a layered, I thought it was Cascade, but I couldn't find it. I don't know what the name of it is. I don't think it's available anymore. But I've got some Teal Topaz cardstock here, and I'm going to use this layered set here. Now it is a nested set, so I have multiples of this. I'm going to turn the back of that panel over because I had some overfoiling on it, and then I'm just going to emboss it with this Simon Hurley embossing folder here. This one is a 3D embossing folder, and it's called Flowing Florals, and it makes a nice texture on the back of that. And so I'm going to grab another one of those nested dies, the larger size, and I'm going to bring in some mirrored gold cardstock, and we'll just cut a layer out and we'll add it to there, and it will add just a little bit of interest around our frame and kind of separate those two topaz panels, and we'll just layer it up. And so we'll glue it up, glue it down, and then I think I bring in some foam squares to kind of pop it up a little bit. Just get it positioned. And I need to grab a card base, so I'll grab one of those, bring those in. I did, fortunately, the other day, made several of them and scored them up, so I had them on hand. We'll get this embossed panel laid down on there. And I think it looks nice to add the embossed texture on there. Kind of adds a little something extra to it. And this one, I'll tell you, I struggled with, and you're going to see it. We'll get our centerpiece laid down on there. Then I'm going to bring in some mirrored leaves and some flowers that I had die cut out thinking I was going to use them. And I just can't seem to make them work. And I'll wind up ripping some of them off of the card and repositioning some things and just going with some leaves. And again, I'm getting carried away with the foam tape, but this panel's not going to fall off my card. So we'll get all those release papers pulled off, and then we're just going to get it laid down on there and just cover up that white that's underneath there. And that foam tape will take care of any gap that we have in there. Now here I've got some leaves that I have used the same gold cardstock in. I'm going to cut them apart, and I'll tuck this one up here, and I'm satisfied with that. And then I'll tuck this one down here. Don't like it. I think I'll cut the stem off maybe. Try to add some flowers to it. Then I'm going to rip the flowers off and go in a different direction. So here I'm like, just trim this stem down, and then I can push this in here and have multiple leaf petals on there. And I've got the little edge where I cut the other part off, and I thought I'll lay a flower on that to cover up that little stem. And I can't get it. And so I'm going to snip this off, and then I think, oh, I'll bring in a flower on that little edge there and cover that up. And I think I had like a large one, and then I had some smaller ones, and I'm just trying different things, and I didn't like it. So I'm going to get the leaves pressed down on there, bring in my rag and clean it off because I had some glue that seeped off. And then I'll bring that flower in. And I've got a teal topaz center that I think I'm going to lay down in the center of it. I'm thinking, oh, just bring the color back in. But I don't like the size of it. It's not the right centerpiece for it. But I keep going instead of pausing and thinking, this isn't going to work. And I'll get it laid down on there. And then I look at it and I'm like, I don't like it. So I rip it off. And I bring in a smaller one thinking, oh, I'll use that and position that. And I don't like it. And I think I get it laid down on there, and then I wind up not using it either. So the struggle is real. And I had a second one. I thought, well, maybe if I put two, I'll like it. And so this is kind of the way the process goes. And then I brought in a third one. And I'm like, no, well, what if I put them over here? I just can't make it work. I just think there's too much gold. The gold on gold, the gold floral on top of the gold floral didn't work. And I didn't have any teal topaz flowers to put on there. And so eventually I rip that off, and then I rip the leaves out. And I have to do some serious cleanup. So I've got like the backer sheet of that one leaf that's laid on there. I'm thinking about some bigger ones. And then I'll bring in my glue eraser and I'll try to erase that off, but then I have to use my tweezers and peel it up. And I'll get it off of there, and then I'll clean it up with my glue eraser, and then we're going to bring the leaves back in and just reposition them. And I just decided to go with leaves on either side of this panel and try to cover up any glue mess that I've made. Still looking at that flower, I'm like, no, you're just going to use leaves. Looking at the bigger leaves, they're too big. So you can see it was a real struggle on this one. And so ultimately I'm just going to lay those leaves back down on there. I'm like, okay, just glue them. So I'll grab some glue and I'll get them glued down on there. I'm going to pull this one out. I've got one tucked underneath there that I don't like, that you're just seeing a little bit of it. So I pulled it out, and then I'm just going to glue these leaves down, and we're going to get this card done. I just couldn't make it work. So I'll bring this other leaf in and we'll tuck it. And we're just going to have 3 leaves up top on the right and then the lower left, and that is going to be the embellishments that we have for it. I will bring in some gems, and we'll get a couple gems laid down on there. I just had a couple of them that were left, and I'm just going to lay with the gold, and I'm going to lay those on there. So I've got 3, and I was thinking, oh, just go off camera and make them. And then I thought, no, we're going for the gusto here. So I took a 3D embossing folder, and this is a lattice one, and I just did white because I thought that pink would look really nice on white, and it would be just kind of a lighter sympathy card. All my other ones are pretty dark and kind of in the rich dark tones. And I thought, let's lay this down here and give myself a little room for some flowers. And so I'm going to lay it in the lower right-hand corner. And then I've got lots of space there for some flowers and some of the things that I had previously die cut out thinking I was going to use. So I'm trying to get an edge below there like I have on the side, kind of a similar frame. And I had this big pink flower, and I thought, well, that'll work. And I had a gold center, so I thought that'll look nice. And I had some gold leaves. I had some smaller ones, and then I had some larger ones. And I was trying to figure out what would work best with it. And I thought, I want to use the large ones. I like them better, but they're just not wanting to lay right for me. So I'm going to cut them apart. Actually, I think I cut the stem down, and then I wind up tearing them apart, trying to get them to lay like I want. And I've got those smaller ones. I'm moving them out of the way. And I'm like, if I tear these apart, I can position them to where I want them, and they're not hanging off my card base. So I'll just tear them apart, and then we'll get them laid down on there. And then we can add our flower. So I'll glue it up. I think I even snipped the edge of the leaf, the stem off of there, and get it laid down on there. And I'm making this video thinking, oh yeah, this looks good. And then as I did the voiceover, I realized this doesn't look good at all. There's a whole lot of white space all around there. It looks unbalanced, and it just doesn't look right. And so I'm going to keep proceeding here because I haven't realized that yet. So I'm going to bring in a piece of foam and lay it down on there. Add a little glue, make sure it doesn't fall off. And I'm thinking, there we go. And so I'll bring in an embellishment, thinking I want to add an embellishment to it. And I've got some opal gems, and I'm going to put 2 of them. Actually, I looked at the gold ones. I thought, no, those are too dark. And then I brought the opal ones in. I'll put 2 in the lower right-hand corner, and then I'll put 1 up by the Heartfelt, the S in the Sympathy. I can't speak. And I'm thinking, there, that looks good. And I looked at this, and I thought, this looks terrible. And so I went off camera, and I added some more flowers to balance it out and some more embellishments, and I think it turned out better. I popped that picture up so that you could see the difference. And so for this one, I've used the wrong die to die cut out for this scallop frame, but it'll work. It's just not perfect. And then I'm going to lay some mirrored cardstock down on here, and I'm going to have that black scallop frame, and then I'm going to have that ocean side panel with the gold, bringing the gold mirrored cardstock as our layer, our base layer, and then we'll just line it up, and we're going to keep this one very simple. And so we'll just get it glued up on there. And I like how this one turned out with the black. I think it looks nice. And then we'll lay the ocean side panel on there. And I'm just going to glue it up. I was looking at my die because I was like, something isn't right, because I've got edges. The top and the bottom looks good, but the sides are not right. So I've grabbed the wrong die for the center of that. But I'm going with it, and I've got 5 sympathy cards, which I have needed. We have been in need of sympathy cards. They're not fun to make, but they're necessary. So I've got some in my stash. So here they are. The pink one changes tremendously. We've got the Teal Topaz, we've got the Cascade, and then we've got the Cosmic Sky. So I've got 5 sympathy cards, and this one is a shaped one. So I tried to take some close-up pictures for you to check them out. Sometimes it is difficult to take pictures of metallic cardstock, but I've got some here for you to look at. And I think the sympathy cards turned out great, and I've got some on hand. If you like this type of content, I have linked a playlist up so that you can check it out and see some more videos. Thanks for watching.